guys? It is Reed. Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we got a video that's a lot of fun. One that's probably a long time coming, considering I've been teaching sort of beginner stuff at first. I probably should have taught this a little bit earlier if I'm going with that sort of hierarchy, but this is just simply how to control a card with cuts, okay? So obviously we're gonna be going over the double undercut, one that I've talked about a lot, but I haven't totally taught. So we'll go over how to control cards from the top to the bottom in the action of a cut, how to control cards from the bottom to the top, how to do that in the hands, on the table. We'll go over controlling multiple cards. We'll go over controlling cards from the middle to the top, middle to the bottom, as much as I can on controlling cards with simple cutting sequences. Now I always say, my favorite controls don't involve any cuts or shuffles because I want it to feel like they see their card go into the middle of the deck and it is controlled. Whereas, with a double undercut, you have to do some cuts after they put it in. And people could think that's when you did the control. And I just want it to be clean and feel like, there's no chance they just saw the card go into the middle. But these are still very useful, and I do use them once in a while, and they're very good controls for beginners as well. A lot of pros use these too, so they're never a bad thing. But I thought I should cover them because I got several good little controls here, and I'm sure you guys will find some good applications for it. So let's jump right in to controlling a card with a cut. All right, time for a quick demonstration on controlling a card with a cut. So let's have card selected, the ace of clubs, and we'll lose that into the middle. Now I'll give the cards a couple of cuts here, and you can actually see how the ace has been controlled right to the top of the deck, all right? Now I'll give the card another cut back into the middle, and you can give a few more cuts onto the table, and now you can see how it's been controlled to the bottom. And if we want to get that card back to the top, we can give it a cut like this, maybe a cut like this, and another cut like this, and it'll come right back to the top. Time for some exposure on controlling a card with a cut. So I'll have a card selected, again the ace of clubs. We'll leave it in the middle. Okay. We'll give the cards some cuts. All right, and that brings the ace to the top. And now, give the cards a few more cuts. All right, brings the ace to the bottom. And now, give the cards another set of cuts. And it brings the ace back to the top. All right, time for the breakdown. So that was a sequence of a couple of the cuts that I'll be teaching in this video. First, we'll start with the simplest double undercut in the hands. So all a double undercut is essentially you're holding a break where their card is and cutting it right to the top, right in front of them. But you're adding a few extra cuts to make it not as obvious, okay? And it does fool a lot of people, you'd be surprised. So you need to have a card selected. So usually when I'm doing a double undercut, I'll do a dribble, they call stop. But you can also do this with a spread or anything you want. They call stop, and then you just want to close and get a break. So if you're doing a spread, you close and you hold a break as you close the spread with the pinky, right? You square up, keep your pinky break. I prefer the dribble where you just do this, they pick their card, and you dribble like I've taught many times, slightly. The first card needs to land slightly off the back and then the rest go forward. Now you have a in jog where you can pull up and get the break. So we got their card, ace of clubs, we'll hold the break on top of it. Now for the double undercut in the hands, we're gonna be transferring that break to a thumb break, okay? I've covered this in my all things breaks video. Go check that out if you don't know how to do that. You come over top, you grip it and hold the break with the thumb. Now we're gonna take a small portion of the bottom pack. Normally you do this twice, and I think 2 is kind of the good number, but you can do this maybe 3 times if you wanted, but I wouldn't say any more. Take a small packet from the bottom and just place it on top, right? Keep in mind, their card is right here, okay? The top of the bottom pack. Then you can take another pack from the bottom, put it on top. That's about as many as I do. And then you take all the cards at the break and put it on top. And now you've just controlled their card to the top. It's really that easy. So at speed, it's just kind of like this, all right? As long as that last pack that goes on top is at the break, then their card's gonna be on top. So that's the double undercut in the hands. Double undercut to the table, same idea, okay? Jack of clubs, we'll get a break on top, but now we're doing the opposite. We're splitting the top packet into pieces as we drop it, okay? And then we do the last packet of the top pack, we drop it on top, and as long as we drop the whole bottom packet on top, their card is gonna be controlled to the top. Now this looks normal. You might be thinking, oh, well, why would I drop the whole bottom pack when I'm cutting the top pack? But when you do it fast and you cut lots of packets from the top, you can't even tell that you dropped the whole bottom pack on top and it looks normal. And at speed, right, if we have the 9 of clubs, it totally looks like a fair series of cuts, okay? And those are the two basic versions. So I'll go over how to control the card from the middle to the bottom in the hands and on the table. So for the in the hands, we want to break underneath the card instead of over top. So what I like to do, they call stop, and I'll push off that card, they see it, and then I'll close and just hold the break here, and then I just dribble on top, right? So now I have a break with underneath the card like that. Now what I can do is in the hands, I do the exact same procedure, right? I hold the break and I cut the piles underneath, and now I've controlled that card to the bottom instead. On the table is very similar. We want the break underneath, but this time we drop the whole top packet and then we cut the bottom packets into several portions as we drop them on top, and that'll bring the card to the bottom. So those are all the variations of the sort of double undercut. There's the table method, there's the in the hands method. I think the table method is a little bit more deceptive in my opinion, and I always pretty much use it with controlling the card to the top. But I've also showed you how you can go from the middle to the bottom just to streamline your approach a little bit if you don't feel like doing a quick retention shuffle or that sort of thing. So in terms of some subtleties, there's a few little subtleties you can add to these shuffles to make them nice. I'll talk about them in terms of the tabled shuffle, but they also work in the hands. So 2 of clubs, okay? I like adding a little pause. We'll go like this. You know, you can talk, maybe say something, and then continue doing the last few cuts. And it doesn't make it seem like you have control. It makes you feel more nonchalant and like you're not really caring about those cuts, right? So 8 of hearts, and I'll say, you know, give the deck a couple of cuts. What was your card again? You remember, yeah? You don't forget? Okay, perfect. And then, you know, I've controlled it to the top. So I like doing that. Another thing, you can add a false swing cut, which is actually pretty deceptive. So normally when you do a swing cut, you cut the top packet and throw the bottom on top, right? But in this, you're gonna do the same thing, but then you're just dropping the bottom right to the table and putting the top right back on top of it. There's this subtlety that people like to do where you go like this, then you tap the bottom pack, right? So follow that, bottom packet here, tap it, this kind of gives a bit of time misdirection, and then you drop the bottom packet, right? It's still the bottom, and then put it right on top. So it's totally false. So how that would look in the context of the undercut, so ace is there. We're gonna do our regular cuts, and then when we get to the packet with the ace on top, I'll give it a false swing cut and then drop it on top. And I do like to do that. It does break it up a little bit. It makes it feel like you're not doing the exact same thing the whole time. So another subtlety I like to add is to make it kind of a mess, right? So you can just do that by throwing cards kind of like this, right? Makes it really nice and messy. Or you can just kind of drop cards not really totally on top, and then you kind of square up and it's totally fine. Even if you don't square up, right, you do these cuts and you leave the cards in a bit of a mess, sometimes you can utilize that. And one thing to keep in mind is it doesn't really matter if we sort of mess up with that top portion for the table cut, right? So 4 of spades, so I can kind of go like this and drop some here, give these a few cuts. And as long as I end with the 4 of spades going on top, it looks really nice, and it looks like you're really not controlling the cards. So in terms of some body language, we definitely want to focus on being natural and really bringing that randomness, making it feel like we're not cutting at specific locations, right? Just making it feel like we're cutting wherever, and, you know, laid back, nonchalant. Definitely, you know, don't look at your cuts when you're doing this. All those things really help sell this control, this sleight, and all these little subtleties make it feel more natural. That's why I like it to the table, because you can kind of be more free with it. Throw these cards, it really doesn't matter. It's time for some uses and other ideas. So, one cool idea that I thought of, right? If we're holding a break, 3 of hearts, you can let them make the first cut. You say, all right, cut the deck anywhere. Because it doesn't matter what happens to this top pack, they can make the first cut. If you're brave, you can have them make another cut, and then you just do the last few. And as long as that bottom packet lands on top where the break is, you're good to go. So that's a fun little idea you guys can play around with. So if you want to move the top card to the bottom, you can do that in a series of a cut. So you want to get a break, thumb break underneath that card. So you just riffle up, get the thumb break. Then you're going to do the double undercut action. So you're just going to cut anywhere, bring that pack to the top, but we're going to square it onto the break. So I'm still holding the break with their card now on the bottom here, right? And then I can do another cut, sort of like the double undercut sequence, and one more. And now their card has been moved to the bottom, right? So one more time, we have a break, cut anywhere, and place that packet while holding the break, cut again, anywhere, and their card ends up on the bottom. So that's quickly and a nice way to kind of secretly transfer their card from the top to the bottom. So if we're controlling that card from the bottom to the top, you're gonna wanna get a break under it as well. So you're just gonna riffle off, get a break, and then you can start doing some swing cuts. And what you'll notice is you can just keep doing swing cuts, and eventually you'll just peel off until that last card and you can throw it on top. And I think that looks really nice, especially at speed, right? You can just keep going like this and control it all the way to the top. So that's the option. And I think it's a little better than the other method, which would be you do one swing cut and place the cards at the break, hold that break still, and then you go and you do a little bit of a double undercut sequence. And since the break is above the card, you can bring it to the top. I like the sort of swing cut method where you do a bunch of successive swing cuts. If you do it at speed, you can't even really tell that you had one card at the end. And it's just a nice way to transfer that. Now for the table, what you're gonna do, so if we have that card on the bottom, we're going to hold a pinky break, and we're simply gonna do a series of cuts. And the last cut, we're just gonna grab all the cards. So we have one left in this hand, and then we drop this on top. And at speed, you really can't even notice that you're doing anything. And you've brought that card from the bottom to the top really nicely on the table. So if you want to control that card from the top to the bottom in a table cut sequence, you can kind of get a break underneath it, and then you can kind of do the same thing, just cut one card to the table to start. And when you do it at speed, you can't even tell that it was just one card, and it looks really nice. All right, guys, that is a ton of ideas on different ways to control a card with a cut from the bottom to the top, top to the bottom, middle to the top, middle to the bottom, in the hands, on the table. I gave all kinds of variations, all kinds of cool little subtleties, different things you can do with these sort of cuts. So I hope you guys play around with them. Use the ones that you like, use the ones that are good to you. Have these all in your mind. Sometimes they can get you out of some sticky situations when you can't think of another sleight to use and you're kind of on the spot thinking. So hope you guys enjoy this. This is a little bit more of an easy video, but it's got a lot of cool thoughts and a lot of good ideas. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys again for all the support. It's been quite the journey. I've been having a lot of fun doing this, and I'm going to keep it up. So yeah, things have been really busy, but we'll keep at it. So with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.